The screaming comes from the basement. When we moved into the old colonial house on Beechwood Avenue, it felt like a fresh start. My wife Emma and I had been living in the city for too long, too many sirens, too much concrete. This house had character. A big wraparound porch, creaky floorboards, and a price that made me double-check the listing 5 times before calling the agent. The previous owner had died, apparently of natural causes, and the place sat on the market for nearly a year. I should have wondered why. The first night was uneventful. We ate takeout on the floor and talked about where we'd put the furniture. It wasn't until the second night that I heard it faint, but definitely there. Screaming. Coming from the basement. I froze. Emma was brushing her teeth upstairs, completely unaware. I stood at the top of the basement stairs, trying to convince myself it was the wind. Or maybe a raccoon. But no animal sounds like that. It was human. And desperate. I didn't go down. I shut the door, locked it, and told myself I'd check in the morning. But the morning came, and in the daylight, it all felt like a dream. No strange noises. Just an old basement with some dusty tools and a rusted furnace. I chalked it up to exhaustion. But it didn't stop. Every night around 2:13 a.m. I checked, the screaming would start again. Sometimes it lasted a few seconds, sometimes a minute. Always the same, a woman's voice, screaming like she was being murdered. Emma never heard it. She sleeps like the dead, and I didn't want to scare her. Maybe it was a pipe issue? A weird echo from a neighbor's house? I tried to rationalize it. Then, on the 5th night, something changed. The screaming stopped abruptly, and instead, I heard whispering. Right by the door. I pressed my ear against it and heard the words, "Don't let him out." I backed away and didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I checked the basement again. Nothing. But now I was officially freaked. I installed a baby monitor down there, the kind with the camera and night vision, and waited. That night, I watched the screen from bed. 2:13 came. No screaming this time. Instead, I saw movement. Something crawled across the floor on all fours, slowly. It looked like a man, but wrong. Twisted. Too fast. Too low. Then it stopped. Looked directly into the camera. And smiled. I dropped the monitor. I actually dropped it on the floor, and it cracked, but the screen still worked. When I picked it up again, the basement was empty. Just concrete and shadows. No sign of whatever the hell that thing was. Emma stirred beside me. "Everything okay?" she mumbled, half asleep. I hesitated. "Yeah, I lied. Just knocked over my water." She rolled over. I sat there, gripping the monitor, heart pounding so hard it felt like it echoed in my skull. I rewound the footage. Frame by frame, I watched the thing crawl into view again, a man-shaped figure, maybe, but too thin, too long. Like it was stretched out. Bones where they shouldn't be. And the way it moved, skittering like an insect. Then the face. That grin. I paused it. It didn't have eyes. Just empty sockets. And its smile was too wide, too many teeth. Yellow and crooked, like a wolf that forgot it used to be human. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I went into the basement with the morning sun pouring in behind me, holding a hammer like it could do something. Nothing. I searched every inch. No signs of forced entry, no hidden doors. Just an old furnace, a broken dryer, and a rotting workbench in the corner. I yanked the baby monitor from the outlet and threw it in the trash. Maybe I was losing my mind. Stress, maybe? Moving is hard. Work's been hell. My rational brain told me it had to be some kind of dream. Hallucination. Something explainable. But that night, the screaming came back. Louder. Emma sat up in bed this time. "What the hell was that?" I said nothing. She looked at me, eyes wide. "Is that a woman screaming?" We both got out of bed and stood by the basement door. The sound was muffled but clear, a woman's voice, shrieking in agony. Emma grabbed my arm. "Call the police." I did. I told them I thought someone might be trapped under our house. A few minutes later, 2 officers showed up. They went into the basement, flashlights out. They found nothing. They were kind about it, but I could tell they thought we were crazy. One of them even joked, "Maybe your house is haunted." I didn't laugh. After they left, Emma asked if I was messing with her. Like it was some elaborate prank. I told her about the whispers. The thing on the camera. She turned white. We agreed to stay at her sister's place for a few nights. Packed up that night and left before the usual 2:13 a.m. show. Her sister, Katie, lived across town in a cookie-cutter subdivision that smelled like fresh mulch and safety. It was exactly what we needed. That night, we both slept through the night. No screaming. No whispers. No movement. Until I checked my phone the next morning. One missed notification from the baby monitor app one forgot was still linked to the cloud. Motion detected 2:13 a.m. And a photo. The thing was crawling up the basement stairs. I stared at the photo until my vision blurred. It was grainy and green from the night vision, but the shape was unmistakable, that same contorted figure, halfway up the basement stairs, one hand on the railing, the other braced on the step. Its head was turned toward the camera. Still smiling. I showed Emma. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she asked the one question I was too afraid to say out loud. How did it know we were gone? I didn't have an answer. We decided not to go back. Not even for clothes. We could replace those. I told her I'd call a priest, or a psychic, or maybe just hire someone to burn the place down. Whatever it was in that house, it could have it. I didn't care anymore. We spent the next day trying to pretend things were normal. Emma helped Katie bake cookies. I sat on the porch, refreshing the monitor app every few minutes even though I didn't want to see anything. For a while, nothing showed up. But that night, everything changed. It started with a knock at the door. 3 slow knocks. Katie went to answer it, but I stopped her. Wait. Something felt wrong. I looked through the peephole. No one was there. I opened the door slowly. The porch was empty. The street was quiet. No cars, no wind. Just the kind of silence that feels unnatural, like the world was holding its breath. Then I saw it. On the welcome mat was a small object. I bent down to pick it up. It was the baby monitor. The one I threw away. I dropped it instantly, my fingers tingling. Emma came to the door. When she saw it, she whispered, "How is that even possible?" I didn't answer. I was staring at the screen. It had a new notification. New device paired. Front camera activated. I tapped it. The screen lit up, and I saw myself. The live feed was showing the porch. The camera was filming from the railing. Then it shifted slightly, like something had picked it up. The view tilted, swayed, then began moving. Down the porch steps. Toward the street. I watched, paralyzed, as the camera feed walked into the dark, crossed the lawn, then turned to face the house. To face me. In the live feed, I was standing there, at the door, looking at the screen. And behind me, on the porch, I swear I felt it before I saw it, something rose up behind me. Emma screamed. I turned and slammed the door shut, locking it, backing away. Katie called 911. Emma pulled me into the kitchen, trembling. The police found no one. Again. But this time they didn't laugh. The officer took the monitor into evidence. Promised to look into it. We stayed up all night, lights on, huddled together. At 2:13 a.m., the power went out. And we heard footsteps inside the house. The footsteps were deliberate. Heavy. One at a time, like someone was making sure we heard each one echo through the walls. Then a pause. Then another step. Then two. Emma grabbed my hand so hard I thought she'd break my fingers. Katie was pale, her phone clutched uselessly in her hand, no service. No signal. The storm outside had knocked something out, or maybe it wasn't the storm. We sat in the kitchen, backs to the cabinets, clutching a flashlight that flickered no matter how many times I smacked it. I held a knife in my free hand, though I knew it wouldn't help. The steps creaked across the second floor. Slow. Intentional. It was moving room to room. I whispered, "We need to get out." Emma nodded, tears running down her face. Front door? I shook my head. Too loud. Katie pointed toward the garage. It's unlocked. We moved like ghosts, silent and slow, every floorboard an enemy. We didn't speak. We just crept past the living room, listening as the thing, whatever it was, stepped out of the upstairs hallway. Right above us. A soft whisper drifted down the stairs. It wasn't words. It was laughter. Dry, hollow laughter, like something pretending to be human. We reached the garage. I eased the door open, heart in my throat. Emma slid inside first, then Katie. I followed, reaching for the wall switch to open the garage door. It didn't work. Of course it didn't. Manual release. There was a cord. I yanked it and started to lift. The door groaned like it hadn't been touched in years. Every inch felt deafening. Then we heard it. A thud. From inside the house. Another. It was coming down the stairs. We heaved the garage door open and bolted. Rain hammered down as we ran barefoot to the car. I fumbled with the keys, dropped them, cursed, picked them up again. The entire time, I could feel it behind me. Not chasing, just watching. We peeled out of the driveway and didn't stop driving until we hit the next town over. A 24-hour diner welcomed us like a lighthouse in the storm. We sat in a booth, soaking wet, looking insane. No one bothered us. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A new notification from the Baby Monitor app. I almost threw the phone across the diner, but Emma made me open it. My hands were shaking. The feed was back online. But this time, it wasn't the basement. It was our hotel room. The camera was pointed at the door from inside the room. I could see the chain lock. The floral curtains. Our bags. And someone standing in the corner. Still. Barely visible. Emma and I stared at each other in horror. The caption under the feed read, "Motion detected, 2:13 a.m. I didn't want to go back to the hotel room. Would you? But we didn't have a choice. Our wallets, clothes, IDs, everything was there. And the police were starting to treat us like a nuisance, not victims. When I showed them the monitor feed of our room, they humored me. Said it was probably hacked. A prank. One officer even winked at me like I was some kind of YouTube prankster. They didn't go in with us. Emma clutched my hand as we opened the door. Empty. No figure in the corner. No signs of forced entry. Everything where we left it. But it felt wrong. Like the air had weight. Like the walls were listening. I walked straight to the corner from the feed, just to prove to myself it was nothing. There was a wet footprint. Just one. We didn't sleep that night. We just sat there, lights on, backs to the wall, staring at the door. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the lights flickered. Something moved under the door. It was a shadow. No feet. No body. Just a shadow stretching under the doorframe like smoke. Then the door handle twitched, just once. And a voice came from the hallway. A perfect imitation of Emma's voice. "Let me in." Emma was beside me, shaking her head in terror. Let me in, it repeated. Then louder. And louder. Banging. Screaming. A chorus of her voice, over and over, coming from outside the room. The walls trembled. The window cracked. The floor vibrated like something massive was crawling just beneath it. I grabbed my phone and opened the app again. The camera was still on. This time it was pointed at the ceiling of our hotel room, directly above us. A bulge was forming, like something was pressing down from the other side of the drywall. Something huge. And then, in the camera feed, it cracked open. A face pushed through. That same grin. Those sockets. That thing. It looked down, and on the screen, we watched ourselves look up. I threw the phone. The screaming stopped instantly. Silence. Then a whisper from behind the bathroom door. Don't let him out. I grabbed Emma and yanked the door open empty. Just steam on the mirror, like someone had taken a shower. We didn't even turn off the lights. We just ran. We didn't go back. Not to the hotel, not to the house, not even to Katie's. We left the state. It's been 2 months. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment. No basements. No attic. No smart devices. I refuse to be anywhere near a camera or a monitor. But every night, at exactly 2:13 a.m., I wake up. Not because of screaming. But because something whispers in my ear. Let me in. And worst of all? Some nights, Emma talks back.